Good evening, children. It's been a long time. We have never met, right? We will just wait for another minute or two for a few more of them to join. We still have a lot of them joining in. We'll just wait for another minute or two to see if we have more participants to join in. Okay. Meanwhile, let's just have a audio video check. So are you able to hear me properly? The voice and the audio is clear, the video is clear. I hope things are fine. Just quickly give me a, okay, all right, good. Very good. All righty. Right, so I actually wanted to meet you all quite early with respect to certain things, but then I was waiting for a particular time. Maybe today was the right time so that we can meet and discuss certain things. A lot of students had asked me for a session with respect to managing your schedule and a lot of other things. So thought about that this session we will make it in such a manner that how are you going to work around with your academic and also with respect to your 2021 preparations. So the chat box is there for you to put up your questions. Most of the things is like a download. The session is also getting recorded, so we will also try to put up the recording of the session into your portal so that if you want to access it later on, then probably we can do that. If necessary, I will also share this PPT which we will be discussing with you all so that you have things with you. But then during this entire session, go through the session bit by bit, things which is important, like your mentors are also being guiding you all. So a few things which I felt I should discuss with you, and something which we will be working out in future is what we will be discussing. All right, so quickly let me see if we are able to see my screen. Okay, I have shared my screen, so are you able to see my screen also? Okay, great, thank you. Let me just set this system a little bit user-friendly for me. Right, so agenda of the session, like you see, it's time for us to wake up if we haven't. Even if you have not started your preparation yet, still we have time. So you have to now get onto the track. It's like you have to get on your mark, get set to prepare, and then finally go for your CLAT 2021. Probably in this entire session, we will be even talking about the days, the time, period, duration, hours you need to spend, all of those things. Before we do that, one important factor is the current situations which are ongoing as per what do you want to say, the pandemic situations and all. So we will have a quick discussion on that also. So major agendas for today, we will be discussing the effect of the current pandemic versus law. We'll have a discussion on your goal settings. We'll have a slight understanding about the new CLAT and what you need to, or how you need to be preparing with respect to that, and a prep plan which I thought will share that with you. So to talk about the first part with respect to this pandemic, I'm sure everywhere a lot of things going bad. 2020 We really haven't heard much good news in this particular year. But then if we look at from your point of view or from law's point of view, I don't think it has much impacted. But one thing which we still have to keep on doing is learn. We can still work on with the current part which you are doing. Like Benjamin Franklin always used to say that any kind of an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. So now is the time, or now is the most important time where you can get this kind of an investment done. No cost involved into it either ways. So you need to spend a lot of time. You have a lot of time ideally at the moment. When I look at from my point of view, but definitely when you might be seeing from your point of view, you may not, because you have your academics also to look onto, your college sessions, submissions, this, that, exams. But then probably if we plan things properly, we should be able to manage all of these things in a proper manner. And as far as the pandemic is concerned, for any of the situations to recover, there is a slight period. And if I look at the period, if I have to say the current pandemic period to recover from COVID-19, I think 18 months should be good enough to recover from that. We have been through almost 4-5 months from it. So maybe if I say another year or year and 2 other months, maybe 14 odd months should be good enough for things to be recovered. By that time, your examination should also be there. 2021 academic year should be fine. Your progress in the law industry should not have any impact because of this particular pandemic. And even if we see other situations which were there, if we see the previous downfalls or a downturn, probably even if I calculate the 2008 recession, again, we took near about 18 months to recover. We were fine by that time. And then accordingly, if we see even this pandemic situation, we can be fine in that particular period. Again, if I see any average recovery period, again, it's somewhere around a year to a little more than a year, maybe a 15 odd months should be more than sufficient for the recoveries to happen. And the overall situations to come back into square one, I think a year and a half should be fair enough. So for you as an individual, there is nothing to worry about. Things are perfectly fine with you all. So this situation, the pandemic situation, is not going to affect you all at least. So need not worry about any of these things. In fact, probably you can consider a blessing in disguise also. So I don't think anything should hamper your coming examinations or your study pattern. Things might a little bit change, technicality of things might change, but again, probably in a year's time, things should be fine. So let's forget about the negatives which are ongoing at the moment. So what we need to look at now is with respect to your preparation part. So we need to set a goal. That's probably very important for us to understand. Now, when I say a goal, most of you might be having different aspirations, different ways of looking into it. The reason I ask you to set a goal is, if you have something in your mind, it would be pretty easy for you to probably monitor it, focus onto it, and judge it. Now, if I have to say, overall, if we look at your dream school, right? So there's a small theory which I made based on that. So consider that these are your aspirations. So your aspiration will consist of, it can be law, it can be maybe some other thing, it can be CA, CS, you want to go abroad and study, you want to do something different altogether. So all of these things can be your aspirations. But based on your aspirations, when you set a goal, there's a slight thing which you need to notice. One, this is what your current situation is, right? Based on your aspirations, the schools which are there would be this part, as per current situations. And as per the current level, the test scores, whatever you are getting, so based on that, maybe this entire kitty, probably this part, is where everything lies. So if you have to look at this particular chart, it might look something like this. Your aspirations versus the schools which are matching your aspirations, and then your possible test scores, where does it look like? So at the moment, I would say this is your safe bet. And then these are your backups, and with the backup, probably we need to work on certain things. Now, this is the area which I would be more concerned with, because right now, based on your scores, you still have certain colleges, certain dream schools which might be fitting in. But then based on your aspirations and the schools matching it, we still need to work hard on the blue area. Things which are out of the question, I think we should ignore. Something your scores which are there but not under your dream school, ignore them. There are many other schools which would be there based on your aspiration, which could come in but doesn't fit under this criteria. Again, ignore them. But then again, the part which is a hard luck part, you can't really do much things about it. So what should be your goal should be the safe bet at your area wherein you can put in an effort and make it into your kitty. That means you might need to increase your score, and based on the increased score, you'll be able to make it to that level. That's how I would be looking at it. And specifically the backups which are there, if I have to talk about the backups, this is like your plan B and plan C. We will talk about the plan B, plan C at a later period, because now we don't have to worry about it. This is already there with you. You're already there. This is what we need to work on. This is exactly what we need to work on. So we will have to figure out how are we going to work on to this, and what all things we need to do to get to this level. One part which I always wanted to say is, you have already been with us for almost a year. But then, are you really studying, looking at your examinations in the correct order? Are you really studying or really understanding the requirements in the correct structure? That is one question which I always have. I've been looking at your weekly scores. I've been looking at your mentorship charts which are there. I've been looking at the schedules which you're going through. In fact, I've been even noticing attending sessions which you attend, your class sessions, the questions which you ask. Is that the right approach? Is what we need to work on. So we'll talk about that in some time. So this part, make it very clear with you. Each of you should actually come up with your aspirations. Like, what is my aspiration? At the same time, you should also see what are the schools which are going to match your aspirations. Again, with that matching part, what is the current stage which you are into based on the scores which you're receiving, and what are my hard lucks, and where do I have to work hard so that I get to my complete kitty? That's something which you need to make, or each of you should be doing it. Okay. At the same time, is the screen not moving? Check. Right. So I wanted you all to see the cutoffs for respective colleges, so that you can also get an idea based on how are you going to plan your goal. So if I have to say, based on the current levels also, the top 3 NLUs, depending upon the paper, if the paper seems pretty difficult, then probably for the top 3 NLUs, I think the cutoff should be somewhere around 100 to 105 out of 150. If the paper is moderate, then maybe 106 to 112, and maybe if it's an easy moderate, then probably 130 to 120, and maybe if it is easy, then probably 120 plus. Maybe we can get you a little bit more precise score after once we are done with this year's CLAT paper. because after the change in the pattern, this would be the first time when CLAT paper would be out, and that itself is getting postponed. Now it's again been postponed to 28th of September. So we're still waiting to see what happens. We don't know how the paper is going to be looking like. Generic idea, we believe that it could be somewhere around easy, moderate to moderate. So a score of somewhere 106 to 110 plus should be a score which the current year students would be looking at. Based on the same, once we see the paper, maybe somewhere around in October, November, we would again have some sessions on strategies, wherein we will discuss about the test taking strategy also, and also a precise cutoff for 2021 at that time. But as of now, just to keep a goal, maybe there should be a good start. We're in top threes, like that way, and subsequently, if you see the remaining areas which are there. Sorry. So if you see, for the next 5, probably reduce it by another 5 odd marks, 90 to 100 odd marks. Maybe the next 10, 90. Specifically, if we're looking at Symbiosis Pune, this year the paper pattern was different. It was from with a different score. So considering that score is what we did this part. So somewhere around 60, 65 out of 75. But this year the paper, they have reduced it much further. So different dates had different kinds of paper, and cutoffs were also different. But then considering this part, considering a 75 mark score, maybe on a difficult level, 58 to 60, 62 should be a good score. Symbiosis paper normally never that difficult. So somewhere around 60, 65 should be a score which we should be looking at. If I consider that same thing in a 150 scoring pattern, maybe 110 to 115 should be a good score for Symbiosis Pune. At the same time, and I'm talking about BA LLB specific. Anish is asking a question. Symbiosis entrance is out of how many marks? This year there was a change. In general, SLAT is for 150 marks, right? But this year it was out of 75 marks. So that is why I kept it like that way. If it continues in that same order, probably this is the one which we have to look on to. But if it is coming back to the normality one, then it would be 150. And out of 150, then maybe, like I said, for a BA LLB, 110 to 115 should be a good score. And for a BBA, somewhere around 100 to 109, something like that, should be a good score which you should look at. So from my end, if you're looking at Symbiosis, then let it be 110 should be a score which you should come up with. All right, Anish, I hope that answers your question. Looking at CET, again this year, no clue how CET is going to happen. Till now, there is no notification, there's no updates about CET. We just know that it should happen somewhere in September. So expecting by next week, probably we might have something coming up. But again, looking at the normal pattern, 150 again is what CET is all about. On a difficult mode, again CET would be somewhere around the moderate mode. For ILS Pune, somewhere around 105 to 109 should be a good score which you should be aiming around. And in GLC, anything about 110 to 115 should be a good score. So why this score is only for you to keep a track that now you're there and how much more you need to get onto. So likewise we need to plan, because normally what we do is we reach a certain level and then we are like how much more we need. So we need to keep a limit, an upper limit, a lower limit, and we need to draw a duration line also to it. And by this particular period, I'm going to be there. The best part is you have ample amount of time now. Even now, nothing has gone wrong. Someone who has not even started with like not even the A of it, we still have time. We can still make it. Rajesh is asking, where would you place CL mocks on this table? Rajesh, you don't have to worry about the CL mocks. You worry about the score which you're getting. CL mocks has been the closest to any of these entrance exams. The mocks which CL come up with, they are almost accurate to plus minus 5%. So that accuracy is what is there with the CL mocks. So whatever you're doing at the moment, I would suggest focus on the mocks. Don't worry about what is the level of CL mock or where are we getting into. That's exactly what I was saying in the beginning. You all are going in a direction which you are not required. You all think too much. Study, work, prepare. That should be enough. Ideal mock scores. I'll answer to your questions one by one. Let's go further because that is there in today's agenda about the mock score where you should be at the moment. Let me just get on to the next screen. So, actually, one question which generally comes to my mind. How tough do you think CLAT is? To all, like you all have seen the changes in CLAT also. You have seen the old pattern, you have seen the new pattern also. In reality, how tough do you think it is? I really want to know from all of you. Give me a couple of answers. How do you think, like how tough this particular examination is? Is it really tough? Is it doable? Is it manageable? Or you think that it's a piece of cake, you can easily do it? What is your take, individual take on it? You can even respond privately, that is still fine, no problem. But I would love to see an answer, okay? It depends upon your preparation. Competition is too high, not tough if well prepared, okay? Between tough and moderate. New pattern is slightly different, difficult than the old one. Moderate, quite tough, manageable. Okay-ish on the positive side. I like that answer, by the way. CLAT is between difficult and moderate, okay? Paper seems doable, the competition seems to be tough. It's tough, okay. According to me, if I see the previous paper, the 200 marks paper was actually a little bit more tougher. I'm not talking about the length of the examination, I'm just talking about the content of the paper. But if I look at the current CLAT paper, I don't think it is tough. It's something wherein we require a lot of practice. Definitely the competition is pretty high. Day and day the competition is increasing. This year itself the aspiration list has gone up to near about 70 or 1,000. Next year again we might have somewhere nearby to that, and the competition is continuously it's increasing. That is very sure. So the paper is doable, but you just don't have to do the paper. You just don't have to clear the paper. You might have to shine better. That's where we need to look onto. So how we can do that is something which we will see. I would love to show you all the structure of CLAT. This is how the CLAT 2020 is looking like, and similar might be CLAT 2021, because nowadays it is very risky to say this will be, because you don't know what's happening. Every other day there is some other changes which happen. So at least now we can say the CLAT 2020 looks like this. 21 might be almost 90-95% would be like this. If there is a change, we might have to work on with the change. So looking at the structure, you have English somewhere around 28 to 32. You have your current affairs with 35 questions. You have legal reasoning ranging somewhere around 35 to 40 odd questions. Logical reasoning with flat 30. Quant, your mathematical section with 15 to 17 odd questions. So overall 150 questions. This is how your current class is looking like. Weightage wise, the weightage still remains the same. Now I have given a slight time allocation with respect to your mocks. Because you all have started giving mocks, the ideal time which you should be spending on individual areas. If you want to note it down, probably you can write it down also. According to me, if you're spending somewhere around 30 to 35 minutes on English, you should be only spending 30 to 35 minutes on English. Let me put it that way. At the same time, GK 10 to 15 odd minutes, legal reasoning, because it has higher number of passages. So let me also correspond this to the composition of passages which are there. The sad part is when I look at the sample paper given out by the consortiums, we are talking about near about 15,000 to 16,000 odd words in the entire paper. In one paper, we are talking about near about 15 to 16,000 words. Now, I was just doing a mathematics, and even if you have a good reading speed, right? Good reading speed, I'm talking about somewhere around 300 words per minute. Even this is your speed, and you have to cater to near about 50,000 words, almost 50 odd minutes, almost an hour, you are only reading. Only to read that entire paper, you need that much time. And everything is passages. So maybe one area which we need to work on to is increase your reading abilities. When I say reading abilities, I'm not just talking about the speed. I'm talking about everything in the reading ability. With speed, we also need to understand the comprehensive ability also, and also the question solving ability also. We need to also work onto that. So if that one sector is done, most of your problem will be taken care of. At the moment, you're not able to solve your sections in these times. If you are in this time scale, beautiful. Then we just have to maintain and look forward for accuracies and improve our scores. But take out this particular chart and put it wherever you want to store it, that this should be your time scale. 30 to 35 minutes, max 35 minutes in English, 15 minutes max legal reasoning, 40 odd minutes, logical reasoning 25 to 30 minutes, quant 10 to 15 odd minutes. And if you are on a higher side on some, you might have to be on the lower side on the some also, because all the higher sides, that will again be a problem. So like that way, we will have to match your timings. You cannot have 35, 15, 40, 30 and 15 for all of them. That would again be a problem, because that is more than 120 minutes. So if there is somewhere, if you're going high, then there should be an area like your strength areas where you have to reduce the time. But you cannot afford to go beyond the upper limit. If you are like for a legal section, if you're spending more, there are about 60 odd minutes in a legal section, we will not be able to finish up the paper. And if you're not finishing up the paper, you're not attempting most of the questions. If you're not attempting most of the questions, we're not getting the score. In this time scale, I have also mentioned the amount of questions attempted and the score to it. Ideal score in English should be somewhere around 22 to 25 would be a good score to look at English. If you're getting more than that, nothing like it. Even in GK, somewhere similar to that, 22 to 25, 26 to 30 odd marks in legal, 20 to 23, 22, 23 odd in logical reasoning, and probably in quant 10 to 12 odd questions. This is a section which we will have to work on. If you are not still doing it, then maybe we'll have to work again. And that's one of the reasons why I have increased a couple of sessions for your mathematical areas, so that 10, 12 odd marks, extra marks, that will make a lot of difference. Okay. Now, in the same way, if you look at the passages, English has somewhere around 5 to 6 odd passages, right? And we need to work on 5 to 6 odd passages with 5 to 6 odd questions in each of them. And we are talking about 30 to 35 odd minutes in solving them. Practice. It is possible. I myself tried it. It was difficult earlier. I'm not saying it's pretty easy that you can do it, but it is doable. At the moment when I solve, along with when you solve a mock, we also solve that same mock, and we try doing it. I made your faculty also do that in the same manner, and it is doable. The timeline which I have mentioned, it is mentioned after we doing it with that particular time frame. So something which is possible is what is written there. Again, if you look at current affairs, you had 7 odd passages with 5 questions each. But then if you're looking at the significant events which are there in them, you really need not read those passages. And I don't think you read the passages completely. If you know the affair, if you know that significant event which is there, you will know the answers. Similarly, looking at legal, yes, you will probably again have to read a lot. 7 to 8 passages, most number of passages in that section, but you need to decide what are the number of questions you're attempting, because this is the score range. 26 to 30 odd marks is what we need to get, and for that, how many passages I should be looking at. It can be different for different people, 5, 6, 7, depends upon what are the number of questions you're doing, what is the accuracy rate for you solving them. But then, as far as composition is concerned, 7 to 8 passages. Logical reasoning will have, critical reasoning might have 4 to 5 odd sets, and you might have a couple of questions on statement assumptions, syllogisms, so 5 to 6 odd questions extra on the other side. We'll see the differences and bifurcation of that in the future slides. Quant, again, everything is caselet based, data interpretation based. So you have 3 to 4 odd sets which are there, and each set might have 4 to 5 odd questions. Even if you're doing 3 odd sets correctly, that is solving your purpose, and 3 sets can be solved in 10-15 minutes. It's a doable part. It's just, again, practice getting that basic which is required to solve these sets. If that is there, if that is right, that can definitely be done. So keep a track of this. If you, like I said earlier, I will share this PPT with you so that you can keep this section slide with you also for your future reference, in case if you have to plan it properly. Okay. So that's a goal. Okay, we have a question. Could you please recommend various reading sources? I would love to do that, Beta. Give me 2 minutes. It's there in the slide. Does reading novels increase your reading speed? If I am reading a very simple novel, that's not going to increase my reading speed. Probably I'll share something with you, because you need to read something which has too many contents into it, too many opinions into it. So I'll share that. We'll see what you need. So to get to that particular plan, instead of saying plan, to get to that particular goal of 110 to 115 or 120 score, we'll have to draw a line, like a progress chart is something which we need to create. So we need to define the intervals of this thing, and at the same time we also need to define what would be my goal on those intervals. So based on that, I have prepared a small preparation plan for you, so that can be a little bit helpful for you to track it. It can vary, it needs to vary, because each of you have a different way of studying, each of you has a different caliber. Someone would be good in certain things, some may not be able to do that immediately. Gradually you might be able to increase it, but that time period should not be like April 2021. So you'll have to start. September is where you are already there. So even if you start now, and probably in a month's time, if you reach this kind of a setup, nobody can stop you to get into the top colleges. So according to me, how to crack CLAT 2021. So if I see the number of hours to study, because most of you asked me this question that how are you, or you're not able to plan the structure, the timetable for your academic and preparation for your law. So just look at, this is the exact period that we have, September 2020 to May 2021, right? So if I have to remove the January, February period when you have your board examinations, so maybe I can say that roughly I have 180 plus days. September to December would be 4 months, and again till May you have another 5 months. So out of that 9 months, I've taken off 3 odd months for your board preparation. So near about 6 odd months, 180 plus days, a little bit. So 180 days would be somewhere around 4,320 odd plus hours. So roughly 4,300 plus hours is there with you. Now again, I would love to ask you all, what do you think, how many hours are required for CLAT? According to you, how much you should be putting in so that you are able to crack CLAT with ease? Definitely it will depend upon people, but still, okay, 4 hours a day, fair enough. 120 hours, that means a month. 5 hours daily, okay, 150 hours a month. 6 to 8 hours. I'm glad that you all did not respond in the public group. 6 to 8 hours. Half of you might like leave the group only in the morning. 6 to 8 hours. Okay, daily 5 hours, 24 hours a week. Good. 2 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours is like what? 2 hours a day, 2 hours a week. So roughly most of y'all are coming up 2 hours a day. Okay. So that would be 14 hours a week. Okay. According to me, so the least was like 2 hours a day, 5 hours. Okay. I believe out of this 4,300 or plus hours, you do have more than that, because I'm only considering 180 odd days, 6 odd months, and you have much more time than that. Even out of that, if you give me 600 hours, that's more than enough for your preparation. 600 hours, rigorous and generously, if you put your 600 odd hours for your law preparation, nobody will be stopping you to getting in. Nobody can stop you to get into the top colleges, top 10, 15 odd law colleges in our country. I can guarantee that. If you genuinely put that 600 odd hours, I'll give you the breakdown also that, because the question would be how this the 600 coming up. So without talking much, let me take you to that. So if I have to divide that into week and days, maybe, because that's how you might be planning up. So let's have this. So like I said, we need to draw a line wherein that will make a decision of how we need to do that. So this would be September to December. I have taken up one particular period, and then December to your CLAT. Mostly CLAT is supposed to be scheduled in the month of May, second Sunday it should be, if everything is normal, and like we think that by next year it should be normal. So May would be where your examinations would be. So definitely 6 months are there with you. In these 6 months, I was talking about 600 hours. Now this 600 hours, I have divided it into 3 segments. Now what are they? So these are the 3 segments which I have divided it. Out of that, I have kept a separate section for reading. At least at least we need 180 hours of reading, minimum. That is the minimum what you should be looking at. You need to give 180 odd hours for mocks. Concept 240 hours, I'll tell you how this concept needs to be worked on to. But before that, let me get on to the reading and the mock test part. So reading, I will also share some sources through which you can read, which would be helpful for you for both your GK, your current affairs, your English, your legal part, and which can help you for your law preparation, whether that is CLAT examination or whether that is ILET or whether that is SLAT or any other different examination, that will definitely help you. But we need at least 180 hours. How is this mock test and analysis contributing to 180? It's pretty simple again. You have near about 72 odd mocks. Out of that, 30 mocks are only there for CLAT. So if I'm only considering CLAT as a paper, right, 2 hours to give the paper, your mocks, and 4 hours to analyze that paper. That is the, one sec. Okay, there seems little disruption in the connection. Children, am I still audible? You're able to hear me? Connection seems fine. Audible? Am I still visible? You're able to see things properly? Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Alrighty, no problem. Thank you. So 2 hours, the general time which you require to give your mock, and the mock which you give, that mock has to be analyzed properly. I have asked your mentors to help you to analyze your mock, or you can call me directly. I will help you to analyze your mock also. You need to spend a good 4 hours to see each mock which you have given. How exactly the mock went across, where did you go wrong, why did you go wrong, what did actually go wrong, whether it's time, whether it is knowledge, whether it is effort, whether it is skill, whether it is practice. A lot of things are required into it. Whether it's the download which you have, it's not enough, whether you had the download but you could not interpret it at the right time. So that analysis is very much required. So together, if I see 6 hours for 30 marks, that is somewhere around 180. That's the minimum time which you need to spend again. These are not maximum hours, these are minimum hours, because 30 is not the only mocks you have. You still have more mocks to attempt. There are different examinations again there. But according to me, even if someone is doing this much, the person is ready. The person can beat most of the examinations. At the same time, if I have to actually put it to week-wise or daily, so Monday to, so if I say 600 hours, I'm talking about 100 hours per month. 6 months, 600 hours, 100 hours per month. So if I have to break it down to week-wise, it should be 4 weeks in a month, so 25 hours a week. So this is the bifurcation which I could think about. So minimum 3 hours is something which you should be spending on your law preparation. And when we say 5 hours, I'm including the mock and your analysis period also into it. So in a week, now the days can be different. I leave it to you whenever it is. Like you want to do it on a Monday, you want to do it on a Wednesday, you want to do it on a weekend. But this is something minimum you should be coming out with. You should be spending 3 hours minimum daily, and you should have mock and mock analysis done at least in every week. A good question. Does this include our online classes? This is your time which you need to spend. Online classes is on top of these. This is your preparation time. Online classes. So right now you have your classes in the weekend. Saturday, Sunday is your general classes which happen. You have a couple of extra sessions which we're doing it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I am also planning to start up something more, which I'll let you know by end of the session. So excluding all of those time, this is like your time which you need to invest in study, not the 2 hours of your classes. Excluding that, 25 hours from your end every week you put into it, things will be pretty smooth. The more you go ahead, I'm talking from like you still have 2-3 days to think over it. September 1st onwards, if you start September 1st, 6 months, 600 hours, no issues. You want to give more, nothing like it. But minimum you should be spending this much time into it. Okay, now let's quickly talk about the concepts which we need to work on too. Now every the mock structure which is there, mostly every week you have one mock now, and you should be giving a mock every week from now onward. Till now you were doing the weekly tests every week. Now onwards we will be asking you to do a mock every week instead of the weekly test, because earlier we're back at home and mocks were not there, so we came up with those weekly tests. But now we want to see it in a little bit completed manner, so we'll stop the weekly test now from now onwards, and we will have the overall mocks, so that we can see in a holistic manner what is happening and what are your areas which you need to prepare and work on. So yes, you need to give a mock every week. That'll be better. October onwards, I think you will have more than 4 mocks a month. So probably we can plan it. So if you think that one mock is going fine for you a week, then probably we'll continue with this 4-4 method. And if you see that there's something more which is required, probably for weekly we can do 2 mocks a week. Mocks would be important. Harshadi, I'll answer to that question in some time, because probably we might have to take that on a one-to-one basis also. I'll get to the questions probably by end of the session, because there are too many questions which are there. Else, some of them would be answered in the slides itself. So I'm just reading your questions which you'll have put up. As far as the mock schedules are concerned, the mocks are already scheduled. There are dates which are given to the mocks. From that date, you can give that mock any point of time. I would recommend every week you should be giving a mock. I leave that to your choice whenever you have time, because not all of you would be having time on the same day to give a mock. So in a week, I leave that to you. The schedule is already there for the mock. So I may not schedule the mock for you. If it's something like an all India level, which I am like really checking out, maybe we will have something wherein we would be doing the analysis directly here. So that I'll let you know. But in general, every week you should be giving one mock now. All the mocks are going to be there in the portal. You need to take the mocks from the portal itself. Separately, do not. So I won't advise you to take the mock outside the portal. You cannot take the mock outside the portal ideally, because once you take it from the portal, the aspirations of the AI automatically decides, checks and comes up with the solution, scores your areas of concerns, and a lot of analysis is done automatically. So I would recommend give the mock from the portal itself. Okay, going ahead, we were talking about the concepts which are there. So mostly it comes up like, how are we going to study, what are we going to study, and what all things are required from it. So from your English or reading comprehension part of it, mostly your focus areas should be on increasing your speed. Definitely that is required, because like I said, 300 words per minute is also not enough. Probably you all need to check if you are like even at 300 words per minute. According to me, that is not enough. Because if this is the case, you are again spending almost an hour only reading the paper. Maybe we might have to increase. Minimum 300 words is what is expected, so that at least you finish it up in 50 odd minutes. But then we have to increase our reading speed beyond that, so we'll have to work on the reading speed. At the same time, just reading will not help. We will have to improve our comprehension ability, the skills of understanding what you read, because each of you will have a different understanding of what you are reading. So where you need to arrive is a common understanding of a common passage. So that ability has to be built up. So with the speed, most of the time, whenever the speed comes into picture, this factor deteriorates. I am aware that most of you are good in English. Being good in English does not mean that you're good in your comprehension also. Being good in comprehension does not mean that you are good in your vocabulary or your paragraphical abilities. Do not take English lightly, is what I am saying. Excuse me. Because getting complacent about English is not the right approach at the moment. How much ever good you are, whatever you'll have been scoring, whichever medium you'll have been into, whether you're an ICSE student, ISC student, CBSE student, IB student, it doesn't matter. First, work on what you are at the moment. If you are the best, probably if you're scoring 25 at the moment itself in English, if you are that good, probably reduce the time. If you're taking 30 minutes, if you're good in that, maybe I'll take 25 odd minutes. I'll reduce the time. That's how I need to look at it. Maybe I'll increase my speed onto that, and that from that 25 minutes, in that 25 minutes, if I'm scoring 20, 25, I look up to a score of maybe 2 to 3 marks more. Maybe I'll look at 28 at the moment. That should be the way I should be working on it. And read different as much as you can. Eclectic is what now you need to look onto. So many of you asked about the novels, whether they are good enough. If they are of different genre, there's nothing like it. But then you have to read different types. Many of you are not that comfortable reading philosophy, the higher level of languages. Someone asked about Shakespeare, rhetoric languages. Maybe you might have to read all of them so that you get more familiar, customized with the way things would be asked. So read different, do not stick to one just particular. Mostly your passages which would be there, that would be more onto economics, more onto current affairs which are happening, more related to philosophical aspects also. So maybe that is something which you need to, or more from a pragmatic point of view. There can be dogmatic passages also, but there are a lot of opinions which is coming up. So you might have to read a lot of these things. I'll show you a couple of places where you can get most of these contents also in a minute. So, okay, now vocabulary also. Many times people also ask me this question that CLAT is now completely comprehension-based pattern at the moment. So why do we need vocabulary and grammar? Without vocabulary and grammar, your comprehension is weak, because there is something called as contextual vocabulary, there's something called as comprehensive vocabulary, something as the general vocabulary also. A common word can mean different when it is used in a different manner. So you need to understand those differences also. There are chances wherein it might change the entire tone of a passage. It might change the entire meaning of a line altogether. So you will have to understand from that point of view. So vocabulary again is important from the English point of view, and grammar, don't take it easily. If your grammar is in place, you will have a stronger comprehending ability. Parajumbles, the sequencing of sentences is again a part. Now it is not there in CLAT, but it is definitely there in different examinations. So we cannot leave it, but other examinations are also important. So from the focus area point of view, speed, comprehension, diversity in reading, vocabulary, grammar, and vocabulary, parajumbles. That's something which you need to work on. Key factors into it. Do not forget reading daily. Many a times you all face a problem solving the CLAT paper because you all are not habituated of reading continuously for 2 hours. You all read, you all have a good speed, but then consistently reading with that same speed for 2 hours is what is required. I'm not saying that from tomorrow onwards you should sit for 2 hours and read continuously. No. If you're not a person who has done that before, you won't be able to do that. You won't be reading more than 15 minutes if that's the case. Gradually increase it. Probably you read for 15 minutes in the morning, 15 in the afternoon, maybe half an hour in the evening. Slowly increase your duration. But definitely there should be a time when you reach a phase where you are able to read for 2 hours continuously with that consistent efficiency of understanding as well as the speed. So we have to reach there, and tomorrow would be a good time to start it with that 15 minutes also. So read. You have to take a weekly task of increasing the ability, because today if you're reading with X amount of speed, you have to see what is the speed. So in a week there should be an increment of somewhere around 20-25 odd words per minute speed. I won't even say the speed. You check for yourself how much you can increase. Even that 10 word increase in a week's time would be a good speed, because in that weekly manner, if we see, probably by the time you're there, around say 100-200 words speed would be there. So I would recommend that you take a weekly target for your own self and decide that this is how much I am today. Next week on this day, I'm going to have this much as my speed, and that should be more. Whenever you increase the speed, make sure that your comprehending ability does not get affected. You need to keep that same consistency in understanding that passage, but increase your speed. That's how you should be doing it. Just by comprehending will again not solve the purpose. You will have to solve questions. You will have to understand the patterns of questions. So section-wise test and topic-wise test would be a good way of attending these tests. So regularly solve in a week, probably I would say 2 to 3 section-wise tests would be a good one to attempt. So keep attempting it. That would be the way you'll understand that after reading it, you're also able to solve it. To build up the vocabulary, 5 to 10 high-frequency words every day should be good enough. Your CL material is a good way to do that. Your vocabulary ninja is a good way to do that. Beyond that, there is a Telegram group which is there. CL Pune for LST, CL Pune for CLAT. There's a Telegram group wherein daily 10 odd words are being put onto that particular group. You can join that group also. Not the LST for law and LST for CLAT, that's the group from the head office. We're talking about specifically for Pune. There is a Telegram. Why am I saying that? I'll share the link in your group for a Telegram group if you're not there into it. There are again some questions which come up there. So whatever updates are there in the main head office group, that is also being shared in this group. Plus there are something more which gets added on to that group. So you'll get these words there also. Atharva, you just have to raise that concern with the correct team. Raise that concern with the technical team. That can be done too. Okay. With this plan, with this concept, you also need to have a goal. Your aim should be to complete 6 RCs at least of English in a span of 30 minutes. Like we remember the 5 to 6 passages, 30 to 35 minutes. So you need to keep a goal that by doing all of these things, I am completing or I am reaching a stage where I am able to solve 6 passages at least, 6 RC passages of English in 30 minutes. And I am somewhere around solving 28 odd questions with an accuracy of 85%. That should be my goal. And I'm not saying that should be an immediate goal, but that should be something which you should be keeping. The progressing timeline is there. I'll tell you till what period you should be reaching this in some time. But this should be the goal you should be looking out from English. All right. Now, as far as the reading materials are concerned, I have taken out something which I think you can get a lot of reading materials from 2 areas. One, from your periodicals which are there, and specifically read, what I would recommend is read online though. Instead of reading a hard copy, it's better to read online because you need to get customized and familiarized with the approach of reading online. So periodicals and newspapers together, there's a good amount of content in the periodicals, like Frontline is a good source. Open periodical is again a good one. Time is nice. The Economist, you get a lot of articles there which are based on the current economic situations. Eon is good. Smithsonian magazine, the weekly magazine, that is also again a good one. The Guardian Weekly, New Yorkers, many of them are free. The New Yorker is again a chargeable one, the subscription for that. But try to get the free subscriptions which are there. All of them are good sources of periodicals, and number of blogs and articles are there. Most of the articles, most of the passages which are taken out in the examinations, they are from these periodicals. Or when I talk about the newspapers, they would be from these. And specifically, I'm talking about online. So if it is the economictimes.com or businessstandard.com, the Guardian, the Hindu, scroll.in, Mint, the Daily Telegraph, you have ample amount of passages which you can read. I don't think you would require more than this particular source to read at least. Now, this can help you for 2 areas. In fact, 3 areas. It will help you for your, for your English definitely. It will help you for your current affairs because what you're reading would be based on the current affair things. At the same time, it might also help you for your legal reasoning section because there might be sections or passages which would be taken up from these areas for your legal section also. So reading it from these sources will definitely help you in these 3 sections. Let's see, we have a question again. So are these sources plus books or only these sources are more than enough? At the moment, these sources, there is no end to these sources, by the way. You will never finish reading from these sources. Even if you're reading from these sources and CL books, more than enough it is. And if you think like you need something more, so I had an idea that you will come up with this question that because how much ever is given to you, that is not enough. As a children, we have a habit. I'm including myself also. Unless and until my table is filled up with books, I need a lump of books, like the one I have in my office. The lump of books should be there, right? I'm going to hardly read one of them, but मेरे सामने दिखने के लिए ना एक पूरा डिगारा होना चाहिए. Then only I will read. I should have like these. The size of my book should be this much. Then only we get a feeling that we are studying. We won't try to search things, right? Yeah, exactly. I agree to that. So we will never finish one book. Right? Before finishing a book, like probably you might be discussing in a group or something. What are you doing? I bought a new book today. Luggage. I also need that book. Why? Why do you need that book? I don't know. My friend got the book. He's doing something, so I also need that book. Make a pillow of those books. That's the only thing which you can do. That's the best idea. Stick to one particular area, you'll go nice. Now, when you talk about current affairs, someone was asking me about Manthan and Manthan 2.0, is it enough? Now, as far as the sources are concerned, first of all, GK and current affairs, there is no end to it. Now, a particular current affair which is happening in one area. Now, that Manthan itself is a combination collateral of about 9 newspapers in the country. How much more can you do? First, finish your Manthan and the significant events which are there. If you're really done with that, I'll tell you more sources. There are more sources also, because the affairs are going to be same. If there is an incident which is happening in Hindu newspaper, that's the same thing which is going to happen in Times of India also. The event will not change, right? It is going to be the same. As far as questions and other things are concerned, once you are done with Manthan, once you are done with the new 2.01, maybe I can suggest something more on it. But done in the sense is not just going through and reading through it. You should remember all of it. If you're done through it, I'll give you more content to read. Don't worry about that part. But let's first stick to what is there. As a source of reading, this is enough for you at the moment. If you're reading on the newspaper side, if you see, you are actually reading the newspaper itself. Now, when you see the Hindu, the Economic Times, Business Standard, these are newspapers. So when you're reading them, you are actually reading the newspaper itself. And you are doing that monthly or daily subscription. So if you read it on a regular basis, it's equivalent to a newspaper. So I don't think you need to actually spend time reading a physical newspaper separately, because you are doing it here. So does that answer your question, Harshdeep? Probably you can read it from that content. And if that is not enough, if you think that you need more content to read, then probably in philosophy, you can try Immanuel Kant. The entire Kantian ethics can be done. You can get into the bills, and you can try Jean-Paul Sartre. You can try objectivism. Philosophy-wise, you can try these topics. Put it into Google. You will get ample amount of things to read. But then I would recommend read it beyond that particular source which is there, because that itself is enough. Someone who is getting completely into the Kantian ethics and Jean-Paul Sartre's thought processes of doing things, it is going to be a tough time. So don't get lost into philosophy. If you still want to read it, this could be some more additional reading topics which can help you to understand things. At the same time, from an economics and finance part, or world politics, or the environmental and ecology part of it, all of these topics should be more than enough for you to read. Now, this will take care of most of your static GK also. There's a lot of things which would be there in the static element that could also be taken care from these topics. I think there's another question which came up. Reading Manthan and daily articles, newspapers takes a lot of time. So that's exactly why we're saying that if we read something, we'll have to read it with some bit more speed. We'll have to increase that element. We have to also decide how much to read. Because if you're reading it from a GK point of view, then I don't think it's the right way of looking into it. From a GK point of view, from a current affair point of view, if you're reading, your Manthan is good enough for that. That will not take much of your time. If you're reading from a reading ability development point of view, then you have to define a time period for it. If you're already reading it for 4 and 5 hours a day, only from these elements, then you are wasting a lot of time. What you need is a consistent speed and an ability of understanding in a specific time. So 1 hour to 2 hours is good enough for you to read, and to read from any of these articles which you saw or sources which you saw would be good enough to do that. Current affairs, at the moment, stick to your Manthan, both the 1.0 and the 2.01. They are good enough as a source for you to stick to your current affair part of it. And if you're again getting back onto reading and develop your current affairs also through that would be too much of reading. That will not help you. Then maybe we might be doing it in a wrong manner. So reading should be separate, because when you're reading that should click in your mind that this is something which I've read somewhere in Manthan, and the answers for these should be something like this. That should go subconsciously in your mind. And the other part of the reading should be to understand what you're reading, the opinions which have been kept out, and then probably the conclusions which are done there, the evidences of that, how are those things being framed, what is the expectations coming out, what has been asked. These should be the things which you put forward from that reading. Okay, so I am quickly moving ahead because we don't have much time. From your logical reasoning point of view, your area of focus, now this has been a concerning area for most of y'all, critical reasoning specifically, because the analytical reasoning y'all are doing pretty good in it. So if I have to talk about analytical reasoning, you'll have to work on your arrangements, your puzzles, blood relations, direction sense, series, alphabet series, y'all are doing good, but number series, again, most of you familiar with number series. Coding, decoding again is something, but overall, if I say analytical reasoning is not that bad for you, it's still good. Work on arrangements, work on puzzles, work on series, number series specifically, that should be good. But you'll have to really work on these areas. Arguments, assumptions, inferences, inclusions, premises, strengthening of arguments, weakening, the logical flaws which are following. Your critical reasoning is a question mark at the moment. That will improve gradually. Let me tell you that part. It will not happen in a 1 or 2 month period. It goes hand in hand with your reading ability. So you have to practice at the same time. You have to read a lot also, because for this element, your key factor is practice. Practice, practice, and practice how much ever you can with respect to critical reasoning. Even if you're practicing, there can be a time when you may go wrong, but then we have to analyze how did you go wrong. You'll have to work on improving the errors which you are making, and that is the only way how you can improve your critical reasoning or logical reasoning. There's a question, does new CLAT include more of analytical? There's no analytical in the actual pattern, which is, there's very few of them. Syllogisms and all are there, something. So hardly we could see any questions on analytical reasonings. So it's more of a verbal logic, critical reasoning paper than the analytical reasoning. But then if you talk about CET, if you talk about ALET, you have a mixture of both analytical reasoning and the logical reasoning. So we cannot skip this part. We still have to take it. We still have to do it. For specifically CLAT, again, we don't know next year what can be the changes. So we should not skip it. Let it be continued is what I would recommend. At the same time, a couple of key factors when you are increasing your time. Make sure that you are solving somewhere around 20 to 30 odd critical reasoning questions every week. At the same time, do not skip syllogisms and course of action. There are questions which are asked from them. So make sure that you solve 10 to 20 odd questions every week. At least 3 to 4 sets of critical reasoning questions every week from your study material or from your practice questions which you get, or from the sample papers of consortium or your box itself which are there. You should be solving 3 to 4 sets every week. that continuity should be there. You should not leave that particular focus, or you should not just leave the practice element of critical reasoning. नहीं तो भूल जाओगे. That's one of the reasons why I'm mentioning that at least 3 to 4 sets every week should be done. Again, take an aim, take a goal of completing your critical reasoning section completely in 25 minutes. Again, like the time frame which we had earlier. I did a breakdown of that also. You need to ensure that you cover your first 15 to 18 questions, which are your sets, critical reasoning sets, in 20 minutes. If you're able to do that, 15 to 18 questions are done. The next 5 questions, probably another 5 to 6 odd questions can be attempted in next 5 odd minutes. But if you are able to finish 15 to 18 questions in the first 20 minutes, you can try a little bit more harder or a difficult question. So another 5 minutes should be there wherein you are able to score 5-6 more corrects. That should be the way you should be looking onto it. Keep a 30-minute target to solve the entire 5 sets which are there. If you're able to solve 5 sets in 30 minutes, 15 to 18 questions definitely would be possible for you in 20 minutes. So that should be the target rate which you should be keeping. Going ahead, if you talk about the legal reasoning and legal knowledge section, concept-wise, most important areas which you'll need to work on to would be contracts, torts, IPCs, the criminal law part. From the knowledge point of view, you will have to look forward for constitution and legal updates, legal knowledges, maxims, a few of the landmark cases. ALAT has assertion and reasoning, so we will also have to work around with the assertion reasoning question, because they ask you the assertion reasoning question in the legal section itself. So your focus area, you should include these as an elements in your focus areas. Key factors, though there are passages and there are no principle-based question in CLAT at the moment, don't forget the principle-based questions. Continue solving principle-based questions. 20 to 25 principle-based questions should be solved every week. At the same time, 5 to 6 passages of law should again be solved in the same week. You should have a balanced blend between both. However, when you are solving them, one of the biggest problem which I could see or maybe figure out with respect to legal is, you all have already become lawyers. You have already become judges also. Remember, you all are yet to become lawyers. Remember, you all are yet to enter a law college. Do not apply the entire law which you know onto your paper. Whereas the principle-based questions are concerned, I'm sure your faculty always used to tell you about the same part, that you need to stick to the principle. You don't have to apply multiple principles. Stick to what has been given. At the same time, when the passage is there, that passage is requesting you to understand the passage, not to apply principle or not to apply the legal knowledge onto it. Don't get personal when you are solving these questions. And as far as knowledge is concerned, it is good to have knowledge. One biggest mistake which most of you as students do, and I have been seeing this for ages, trust me children, the more you get into it, the more knowledge you possess. It is good, but do not apply that knowledge onto your examination paper. What is happening around is something different, and what is required for your paper is something different. Google, now the other day I visited a doctor. I could see a board kept there. Google patients are not treated here, or people who refer to Google are not treated there. Because if you look at any small disease, the end part of that disease ends up into cancer. Nowadays, people can treat themselves on their own through Google. They can even do medical prescriptions also. In the same manner, there are a lot of things which you find in Google. There are a lot of laws, there are a lot of key points, there are a lot of things which are there. We don't require that. It's good for you to have that knowledge. Keep that with you. What you need is a proper understanding about how you can solve a particular question and score marks and have or get an admission into the college. The legal knowledge which you would be developing through the other external sources, it's good for you after 5 years. तभी आप करो जितना करना है. At the moment, stick to what is required. Either ways, when you're grabbing that knowledge, you're wasting time, because that is not going to help you to score marks. Maybe that can help you to get something wrong. Instead of that, probably spend time in the right manner and in the right place. At Vestibi, you children are not the ones who are going to listen to what we are saying. Aaj ki generation, they never listen to what has been asked. So you want to practice that. Probably you can solve a couple of upcoming mocks. You can try applying that and see if that thing works out. Or maybe leave that, work out in the correct manner and see whether you save time. It would be little rest for your brains. It will also be little rest to the study patterns also. Maybe that will help you to get more time to study something different. From a legal point of view, any examiner or any of these exams which are there, they don't want to test your legal actual knowledge. They don't want to test the law in you. They want to test the ability of understanding law in you. You don't need to learn law immediately. That's something which you're going to do after 5 years. After 5 years, probably you might have to prove that part. But now they want to know how well you can understand things. So understand the difference between the two. Try to bridge where are you going wrong. Now, I have been listening to a couple of your legal sections also. The kind of questions you ask, and one fine day I was like, what is the need for you all to even ask that question? Yeah, there are times when we are into like, पूछना है करके कुछ ना कुछ पूछना है. It's okay. We are not like that kids at the moment, right? School, college, it's okay. You show things there, it's fine. Here, each of you is a competitor to the other person, because all of you are studying the same thing in the same level. Tomorrow you all are going to compete with each other. You all need to understand that how are you going to improve your areas, rather than why this, why that. It's okay. That is not required. What is required, we will let you know. So stick to that part. More and more information which are going to come in, that's going to create problems. Now, a couple of you are also children from law background, from law families. The challenge is what happens inside the court, what happens from a law point of view, that is different, and what is required from an examination point of view, that is different. So maybe one line which is there in the principle, when it is applied onto a fact, in the actual court of law, there would be something different, but what is required there, that is different. So you'll have to understand that difference also. So while you're solving legal as a section, please be careful with that, and please try and understand where are you making mistakes. You will have, or this is one area where you can score the maximum, but then it has to be taken up in that manner. That's only when you'll be able to score. Okay, too much of Gyan. So coming back onto, you need to again stick to a particular goal. You should be finishing up your legal section in 35 minutes itself, not more than that. 30 minutes would be a good time. 30 to 35 minutes, not more than that. That should be a good time to keep. Take a target for yourself that you're at least able to solve 6 sets in 35 minutes with an accuracy of near about 85%. 32 odd questions should be something which you should be attempting. And even if you're getting an accuracy of 85%, you would come to 26, 27 or marks. So that's a good score again, considering the other areas. So that should be one part which you should be taking as a target. GK, current affairs, Ideally, if I see, based on Professor Mustafa's statement, which was there for CLAT, January to April is what he specified with respect to current affairs and significant events. But I would still suggest, since there are different other examinations also, so June, July would be still a good period. July 2020 to April 2021 should be a good period to look at current affairs. Stick to month-end at the moment is what I would recommend for both, for your current affairs and also for significant events. Static GK, geography, polity, economics, awards, books and authors, this should be more than enough for you to work on. History is something which is something rare question. By just having more sessions, how is it going to help out? With respect to sessions, Atharva will tell you something. There's something more coming up in some time. Factors which you need to keep in mind: read your newspapers daily, but then, like I said, read it online. Read it from both current affair and your comprehension ability point of view, but then study and revise month-end regularly. More specific, as a current affair should be month-end at the moment. Your what do we say? The GK elements, the current affair element. If you're again getting onto newspapers, that will take a long time. It's not a wrong way of doing it. It's good to do that, but it will eat up a lot of time, a lot of your efficiency and efforts also. So if you're sticking to month-end, it will take lesser amount of time. The contents are more and easier to remember. So that is something what I would recommend. Normally we keep telling people that consider month-end as your next Bible. So read it daily is what we would recommend. Events, the month-end 2.0. Make sure that we are again doing July to April 21 significant events. Static GK. Whenever someone studies static GK, there's an issue with static GK is that's completely memory based. And as far as geography, polity, economics, polity is your constitution. So most of the constitution is already there. We're redoing constitution. That's one of the reasons why we are redoing that part. Economics, awards and books. Even if you do it now, after the point of time, you're going to forget, because we did earlier, you forgot. And if you do it now, you will again forget. So there would be a specific period when we would again do it for you, so that it would be easier for you to remember. And that's something which is going to happen in the near future. If you are talking about a physical newspaper, Kritika, read the editorial column. That should be a good area to read. Because when you talk about the entire newspaper, there will be a lot of affair-related things, a lot of current events which are there. But if you're reading a physical newspaper or even the other part, I would recommend read the editorial columns. They have better English, they have better words which are used there. So that should be a good area to read. Month-end 2.0, based on Professor Mustafa's statement, even something from October is fine, specifically if you look at CLAT 2020 pattern, because they said January. So I would recommend it is to be safe to read from July onwards, because that's not going to harm you. That will be a part of the significant event and also based on the current affair. So if you're doing that, it might help you for some different examinations also. And once we see this year's paper, probably we can confirm that what could be the period where the significant events come into picture. As a safe bet, it would be better if we do it from July onwards. If there are someone who said to do it from August, एक ही महीने का difference है. Nothing is going to change in that case. August is also good, but to be on a safer part, it's good to do from July onwards. To practice GK, there's a question: where can you practice? You have your Static GK, if you want to practice, you can practice it from your portal, which is there. Along with the same time, months are also something which is there. The daily GK quiz, which is there, that is good. Your GK Ninja is also a good element where you can practice. So this should be a way you should be practicing GK. First of all, it's difficult to practice and learn GK. You have to just study GK. Difficult to teach also GK because, like I said, there is no end to it. So you'll have to learn GK, you have to study GK, and practice-wise, both of those elements are a good way of learning it. But again, you need to keep an aim that you are completing your GK section in 10 minutes, max 15 minutes, not more than that. Keep a target of finishing your GK section in 10 minutes. Don't waste your time reading the entire passages in the mock, because if you know the event that has been described in the passage, then you will know the answers. Even if you don't know the event, even if you read the entire passage, nothing is going to work out. So there's no point you actually sitting and wasting time reading that entire passage. Read, go through it, skim through it. You will understand what is the overall passage or what is the event, and you should be able to answer them. Yes, Rupali, it is fair enough. If you just do Manthan 2.2 and the editorials and skim through your paper, that's perfectly fine. Quant, the mathematical section or quantitative aptitude section, do not forget your Holy Trinity. That's something which I always call it. Your arithmetic, algebra, numbers. Sometimes I also include the modern maths into it, the permutation, combination, and probability. But as in for the whole, arithmetics, algebra, and numbers, something which would be the most important element. Solve basic level questions. Your basic calculation should be improved. You need to increase your calculation speed. At the same time, make sure your focus is there on your calculation-based questions, the table calculations, the bar charts, pie charts, line graphs, the caselet-based, puzzle-based ones, because your Quant is going to be completely caselet-based. So you need to work on that specifically. At the same time, we cannot leave the other exams, so you would still have to worry and work on the Holy Trinity, which is there: arithmetic, algebra, and numbers. Take out daily 30 minutes for Quant. Whatever you're solving, whichever topic you're solving, solve 30 minutes of Quant daily. Right? That will help you to be intact, be in sync, be inconsistent also. So solve 30 minutes daily, whatever time you want to solve it. I normally recommend solve Quant in the night, because you have to sit and write and practice, so you don't feel that sleepy. So take out 30 minutes to solve Quant daily. Solve 5 to 10 caselets and puzzles and sets every week, and make sure that you're solving 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 topic-wise or sectional tests every week, so that you get some variety of questions along with the set. Do not forget to increasing your basic calculation speeds, like the speed maths which is there, because that is where you will save time for maths specifically. Your aim and strategy areas, skim through the entire mock first, because there's always some low-hanging fruits which is there in the paper. There are papers, there are sets which are easy, and probably out of there are 4 sets, there would be 2 to 3 of them. 2 would be simple ones. There would be one which is tight, tough, and there would be one which is moderate. So you need to go through the sets first. Which of them is easy, so that you are able to solve them properly. Solve 10 to 12 easy questions in 10 minutes, and if you're able to solve a little bit more, if you have that 5 minutes extra, try to see if you're able to solve 2 to 3 questions extra from them. So overall, you're still looking at 12 to 13, 14 odd questions with 85% of accuracy. You will still end up with 10 to 12 marks. Make sure we are keeping a target of 15 minutes in solving 3 sets. If you're solving complete 3 sets, and if you have that target of solving 3 sets in 15 minutes, you would get that 10 minutes, 12 questions easily. So that should be the way you should be keeping a target and and a timeline. Right, so timelines are done. So I have defined all the 5 areas. I have given you those 240 hours, what you should be doing in the 240 hours, what you should be doing in 180 hours of reading, the sources, the mocks, how important the mocks would be, and how to analyze it. But then we have to keep some performance targets. So I have defined a time frame also. From now onwards till 31st October, then from 31st to 31st December, and then 31st March 2021, and then finally your CLAT 21. So I'm not worried about your CLAT 21, but then I would want to ask y'all, in English, how much do you think you will be giving me till 31st October? Fast. What should be the score which you should have? 22, okay? 31st October in English. 23 above, 24, okay? Someone came up with 20, 22 plus, okay? Okay, then and if that's the case by December, if you're talking about 22 by 31st October, then till December, how much that should be? You're talking about some 28 to 32 odd questions. So till December end of this year, 25 to 27 by December, okay? 25 plus, okay? So what I would want you to do is draw the same chart for each of you, because each of you might have a different calculation for these. This way you will keep a progress chart for your own self. You would see that where you stand now. So up till 31st of October, you have to decide that currently I am here, I would reach there by 31st October, and then by 31st December, then by 31st March. So you keep a progress for each of that area and total it up. That will definitely help you to focus for your major score. And April entire month, it's there left around for most of the mocks to be there. So a lot of improvement in strategies can be done if you are already there at some score by this particular period. From my end, I have figured out a small target range. What I would be expecting is something this. At least by 31st October, you should be there with these figures. If you are there at 83 even by 31st October, I am good with that. I'm pretty fine. Most of you are way above this at the moment, but I would be really fine with it, even if you're there with 83. By end of December, if we cross 100, I'm good with it. And by end of March, we should reach here. And then we need to work on the consistency level. I have defined the accuracy rates also. Earlier, or as of now, even if you're at 65 to 75% accuracy, it is okay. Because what we would be working would be, we would be working on increasing the accuracy levels. Once the accuracy improves, then we can increase it further. So keep a target in this manner for you. Again, these targets can change. It's not necessary that all of you should have in the similar manner. If you are already there, if you're above a certain mark, then probably we can have a higher target also. That is something which you can discuss with your respective mentors. They will also guide you to help create this particular target for you. How is accuracy rate calculated? Number of questions you attempt. So for example, if you attempt 10 questions and if you're expecting an accuracy rate of 85%, then I would expect near about like you should not have more than 1.5 incorrect. So 1.5 is a little difficult to look onto it. So 85 to 90% of accuracy. So probably 1 or 2 incorrect should be the maximum what you should have. So for example, if you do 120 odd questions correctly, and if you have an 85% accuracy, you would end up with 110 with the minus marking also. Because for every incorrect question, you have a 0.25 minus marking, and that much get reduced also. So we cannot have a very high, a very low accuracy rate. If you're solving questions, you are solving almost 150 questions with an accuracy of 50%. That's not going to help. That means you have 75 corrects. Still, because of that 75 wrong, you will end up losing a lot of marks again. So you have to make sure that the number of attempts are based on your accuracy. So you have to improve that accuracy. How should be the minimum number of attempts? What should be the minimum number of attempts? Look at the score, and based on your accuracies, you can define what should be the minimum number of attempts. For me, as of now, whatever you attempt is good. You can end up, so if you want more score, if you want to score higher, you have to attempt more number of questions. Alrighty? So keep this as a target, because when I would be sitting and discussing a couple of things with you in the future, I might be asking you this also again. So make this particular table for each of you. Your respective performance figures. Write down your numbers based on like whatever you're scoring. If it's higher, nothing like it. But then an achievable, realistic, and slightly stretched one also, so that we work onto it. Okay, so we have a plan, we have a timeline, we have the periods mentioned onto it, and we have a target score also. And we have our sources and content also to study. So at the moment, what we only require is study and practice. And in order for practice, now we are planning to come up with the booster batch also. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with this booster batch. In this batch, we'll not be teaching you any concepts. Let me see if I have anything with respect. Okay, this is what the collateral has been shared across. So I'll share this one with you also. So from next month onwards, there would be a booster batch which would start. It would be a 2-hour session, Monday to Friday, daily, apart from other sessions which you are doing. So Monday to Friday, daily, 2 hours. And in this 2 hours, you all are only practicing questions, whether it is legal, whether it is GK, whether it is quantitative ability, logical reasoning, English. You all are only practicing these questions. So this is something which is an additional part beyond your actual syllabus. So I'm not sure how many of you are actually enrolled for booster, but then this is a new separate batch. This is also open for non-CL people, but for non-CL, the cost I think is somewhere around 25,000 is what the cost is. But then if you all are recommending, then there are some discounts. I'm not familiar with that. So that can be discussed and checked with the counselors who are there. There are few of you who have already registered for the booster batch. When you took admission, you'll have taken both the regular and the booster batch. Students who have not taken admission for boosters, and if you are interested in that, you can enroll for the same. For CL students, this year CL students, it is 15,000, but for you all, I think it is 10,000. 10,000 is the fees for this. This would start from September onwards. September 14th is, I guess, when we are starting, and it will go around till November end or December. So almost for 3 months it is there, 3 to 4 months. So it will start somewhere around 14 September, mid of September it's starting. So it would be Monday to Friday is when this session is. The timings at the moment, I know that you all have a huge constraint with your 4 to 6 p.m. timing, but daily having a 8 to 10 p.m. is very difficult. So at the moment, the booster batch timing is 4 to 6 p.m. September to December. But then I would again need to know from you all. There are a lot of you who have constraints. I know that last time also when we were doing that extra session, most of you had a problem with 4 to 6. But is there something that can be managed is what I would love to know. 4 to 6 p.m. Can you manage this timing? It's completely up to you, Rudrani, whether you want to be a part of it. Because what is going to happen in that session is practice. We will practice different types of questions. The faculties would be teaching how to solve them in a quicker manner. So that's up to you how we can do that. The classes will be recorded. Yes, those sessions, all these sessions will be recorded. Practice sessions, the sheets and everything would be shared across. There would be separate sheets. There would be separate classroom materials which would be coming up. The session is not, okay, the few of you were questioning that this is not a session only for maths. You have GK, you have legal, you will have logical reasoning, you'll have English, you have maths, all of them. Maths, I'm already doing few sessions for you all. The basic sessions we are doing at 8 to 10, Tuesday, Thursday, we are doing it for you so that you can build up your basic knowledge. Let's do it this way. Why not? Okay, so we got a question also. So if I'm not sure if any of you have attended it earlier. If you want, we can help you to attend 1 or 2 sessions on 14th and 15th. You can attend the session, you'll understand what exactly. I don't know the timetable at the moment, it's not there with me. So it's not just GK or it's not maths, it's all of them together. So it's more practice, because last year we did it for our 1-year children, and we saw that the efforts which were taken in that session was the real-time scenario which actually helped them with few of these examinations recently. And when I'm looking at their scores also, we could see, in fact, I could see people getting up from 40 score to 96 also. I'm talking about a live example. In a span of 2 months, wherein the person was at 40 and that person jumped up to 96, just based on these practice. Because what is happening is you all have a lot of download, but you all are not practicing those questions. Booster batch is completely about practice, solving multiple questions. So maybe that 2 hours extra which you're spending for a particular day on a particular subject might help you to get your scores boosted. So that's the only purpose of that. Maybe if you want, I'll ask counselors out here to send out the link for some demo sessions for you all. But for in general, the others who are interested in joining that particular session can enroll for the session. Again, you have to call up the counselors. 10,000 is the fees for that, and Monday to Friday is the session. 4 to 6 p.m. is when the session is. The other time that is only left with, because I tried looking at from 7 in the morning till 4 in the evening. You have your colleges, most of you have your colleges either from 8 to 12 you have a college, some of you have 12 to 4, or a couple of you have like 2 to 6 also. So if y'all are able to manage some of this particular time frame, I think it'll be good. 6 to 8 you have your regular batches which is ongoing. 6 to 8 the plus batch happens here. Monday to Friday 6 to 8 timings are already occupied for 2021 plus batch, 1-year batch. They would also be attending the booster batches. So they'll be attending 4 to 6 and then 6 to 8. The only two options which we have, one we have 4 to 6 and the other is 8 to 10 p.m. in the night. I tried looking at all the other timelines. Most of y'all are busy. How many of you have a problem with 8 to 10 in the evening? Four to 6 sounds better, okay? It's too late. Yes, I know. Thank you. Already Tuesday, Thursday, we are doing 2 sessions for you. And I think probably a month again, it will go on. 4 to 6 is better. 4 to 6 is better. Okay. 8 to 10 is better. Okay, why not you use your WhatsApp groups to get me a small number based on that. Whichever is majority will go with that, 4 to 6 or 8 to 10. So put up into the group, we'll see. So I'll let you know about the same in a week's time also. And for further details, you can also get in touch with the counselors. They will get you the information. Alrighty? Perfect, thank you. One more thing. Many a times, this is one line which I wanted you all to see. Every time we see, we read, we hear, give your best shot. But this is one line which I liked a lot. Don't give it your best shot. Give it the best shot anyone could have ever possibly given. That's the new world which we need to look on to, people. So now is the time. Get onto track. Get up. Get set for your preparations and go on for it. And in case if you still have any queries or concerns pertaining to any of the things which we discussed, feel free to contact me or feel free to contact any of your mentors. They should be more than happy to help you. So I'm not sure if you do have my number. If you do not, then this is my personal email ID, thomas.miraj@gmail.com, and my number. Most of the time I'm busy in some of the other sessions, so I would suggest text me or email me. I'll get back to you. Or WhatsApp, that's my WhatsApp number also. You can WhatsApp me also, and we can get back to you on this. Or I can ask any of the counselors or the mentors to answer to your queries. All right. Any other questions that you have that you want to ask quickly? No? Then could you? Yes, the link of the Telegram group, I'll send it. I'll ask someone to WhatsApp it to your WhatsApp groups which you all are into. One year, this year's 2021 batch is working 6 to 8 p.m. How to manage the boards with that? See, take away the 600 hours. The remaining time is completely with you. You can spend as much time you want to spend onto your boards. What I wanted was only those 600 hours. With that 600 hours, that is more than enough for you. You also need to remember that when you're bridging a gap, how much are you doing? Specifically when it is with science stream, you have a lot of completions and a lot of things to take care of it. So maybe for a certain period of time, when you don't have your examinations, 60-40 can be the ratio. And when you have the examinations, probably you can make it 80-20. Now 60-40 could be the ratio. Specifically, I'm talking about the science sections, where they have to spend more of the time. So 60-40 could be like 60 academic and 40 for your preparations. 80-20 during the exam period when you have your midterms and semesters which are there. But if it's a commerce and arts, I think you should be the other way around. You should have 80-20 for the most of the period, wherein 80 is your preparation time, law preparation, 20 is your academics. Examination period, exactly vice versa. 80 should be your academics and 20 should be your preparations. So that way could be a way to manage it. The weekly test will not be there now. It would be a mock. The topic won't be there. The mock is on all the subjects, all 5 of them together. It's a full length mock which you'll be doing weekly now. That's what was guessing. I didn't understand, Radha, what did you mean by that? Your mocks would be analyzed by your mentors. You would also be analyzing it. They'll teach you how to analyze it. No, they do not consider, Atharva. The board marks are not considered. Oh, that's fine, Radha. No problem. It's already updated. Trisha, it's already updated. Just reset it and ask them to reset it for you. It's updated. There must be some criteria like 75% in boards or something. If it is for the entrance examination, you're talking about admission to your UG, there is no such criteria. It's 50%. That's the criteria to give the examination. But that's not the score. Before you all take it wrong, many a times when you see this as a criteria 50%, don't end up with like scoring 50%. You should be scoring 70-75%. That's a good score. If you know how to score, like in your 10th standard, whatever you scored, like you scored 90-95 in your 10th standard and you're scoring 50-55 in your 12th standard, that's a huge mess. So recommendation is you have a equal balance between the two. There is no criteria for admissions based on your 12th standard boards. At least that's for sure. So even if you score 95 in your 12th standard, but you did not score well in your entrance exam, that will not help you to get any admission. So you have to score well in your entrance exam. At the same time, you have to do equally well in your 12th also. But the amount of effort to be put into your academics, that can be managed. So like I said, a 60-40 for science and 80-20, and the other way around when you have your examinations also. Or you tried updating it. Okay, send an email across to us. Let's see. Send a screenshot of that. We will see that. Send it to pune@careerlauncher.com. Alrighty. Any other questions, children? If not, we will have some sessions in the future also. Hope the session was of some help to you. We will be doing some strategy sessions in the coming days. We'll get this session's recording also uploaded for you, and we will also circulate this PPT for you so that you have a reference to this. Okay? Sir, if you could manage, can we have a one-to-one? Harshadi, you want to have a one-to-one? Yeah, no problem. We can fix up a time. You can call me. I'll give you a time. Or come down to the center. We can have a one-to-one. But this time the SLATs result, that's a good question. The SLATs results are pretty good. We almost have 85% of the people who got calls from SOCIALISTIC Pune up till now. So we have a good ratio. At the same time, many of them are now interested to get into Jindal also. So the questions are between Jindal and Symbiosis at the moment. Many are awaiting, and the way Symbiosis is keeping the deadlines, because CLAT is increasing or getting postponed day by day basis. So it's becoming very difficult for them to freeze their admissions. So it's a question mark at the moment, but this time the SLAT results are more than 85%, I think, who got calls by now. No problem, Harshadi. You call me, we'll fix up a time. This time they reduced the number of questions, and the children from last year, they were already used to that 150 question thing. And by solving multiple questions at a higher speed, they practice with the CLAT speed. So for them, the symbiosis paper was a piece of cake. So they easily managed it. Academic standards same across all the NLUs, not all, most of it. If talking about the top 5, they are. Top 3, let me say, top 2 is the same. LSI, Nalsar is the same. Kolkata will differ, and it will keep on differing as you go lower. That's one of the reasons why the rankings are there, right? So it's not the same, but all are at par. I won't say they're bad, they all are at par. Estimate number of students appearing for CLAT 20. We heard 70,000 are the aspirants list at the moment. From 52,000, it has gone up to 70,000 at the moment. Now the final number, we don't know, because out of that 70,000, half of them have given up, waiting. They can't wait more. So we'll have to see how many actually appear. All right, in case if you still have any questions, send it to me directly or call me. We can still have questions and I'll answer to your queries. So all the best and enjoy the rest part of the evening.